If I could only keep 10 items to get through tough weeks, I wouldn't choose the things that most survival forums always talk about. Because the truth is, a lot of people have enough food for 30 days, but by day 3, they're already tired of eating it. That's a problem very few people think about. A food stockpile doesn't just need calories. It needs items that make you actually want to eat, help food last longer, keep the kitchen from falling apart too quickly, and keep morale from wearing down from the same meals over and over again. The most surprising part is that one of the most important items on today's list costs only about $3. It won't fill you up, and it doesn't look impressive sitting on a shelf. But when it's missing, an entire kitchen can start falling apart faster than you'd expect. In this video, we're going from the item almost nobody pays attention to, all the way to the one I always keep tucked away. And the number 1 spot isn't there because it's rare or expensive, but because by the time you realize you need it, it's usually a little too late. 10. Nutritional yeast. You can eat enough every day and still feel your mind slowing down. That kind of decline is dangerous because it doesn't arrive like a sudden fall. It shows up through small signs that are easy to ignore. You stand in front of a shelf and can't decide what to grab. You read the label on a can twice and still can't remember what you just read. You have enough rice, enough beans, enough pasta, but every decision throughout the day feels as heavy as dragging a sandbag. After a previous video, one viewer left a comment that stuck with me. I had enough food for almost 3 weeks. Nobody in the house was hungry. But the farther we got into it, the slower I felt. The more forgetful I became, and the less I wanted to do anything. That sounds completely ordinary. But if you've ever gone through a few days without power, slept poorly, and eaten the same handful of foods over and over, you know how unsettling that can be. A lot of people prepare for hunger. Very few prepare for the point when their brain starts working less effectively. That's why I always keep nutritional yeast in my food storage. Nutritional yeast isn't a flashy item. It doesn't look like a survival food bucket. It doesn't create the same sense of security as a large bag of rice. But a small container usually costs around $5 to $9. And since you only use 1 or 2 tablespoons at a time, it can last through a lot of meals. If it stays unopened and stored in a dry place, many products can last about 12 to 24 months. Once opened, I transfer it to an airtight glass jar and keep it away from moisture and sunlight. Its real value isn't how long it lasts. Its real value is that it fills a gap that many food stockpiles overlook. When you spend days eating mostly rice, pasta, potatoes, oats, or dry beans, you may still be getting enough calories. But nutritional variety starts to disappear, especially B vitamins, which are closely tied to energy, nervous system function, and mental alertness. Your body doesn't sound an alarm right away. It just makes you a little slower, a little more tired, a little more irritable, and a little more likely to make mistakes. In a crisis, that little can be very expensive. I use nutritional yeast in the simplest ways possible. I sprinkle it over hot rice, mix it into porridge, stir it into mashed potatoes, sprinkle it on pasta, beans, soup, or broth right before eating. It has a mild umami flavor, slightly similar to cheese, just enough to keep a bland meal from tasting exactly like yesterday's. One important tip is to choose a fortified version, meaning one that has added B vitamins and B12. If you eat little meat, few eggs, little dairy, or have to rely on dry foods for many days, that small detail matters. And don't cook it for too long. I usually add it at the very end, right before eating, to preserve the flavor and avoid wasting it. What I like most is that it takes up almost no space. A small container sits quietly in the back of a kitchen cabinet. Nobody rushes to buy it. Nobody brags about it. But by the second week, when there's still food left and your mind starts feeling foggy, you'll understand why this little item is worth keeping around. Nutritional yeast won't make you feel fuller. It won't replace rice, beans, or meat. It isn't a seasoning meant to make meals feel fancy. It's fuel for mental clarity. And during a prolonged crisis, the person who makes it through isn't always the one with the most food. Sometimes it's the person who is still clear-headed enough to know what to eat, how much to use, what to save for later, and how to avoid mistakes caused by deficiencies that have been quietly building up for days. Right now, is there any item in your kitchen that costs less than $5 and that you never let yourself run out of? 9. Full-fat coconut milk. There's a major flaw in a lot of emergency food stockpiles. They're packed with starches, but almost nothing that makes meals feel rich, smooth, and easy to eat. When stress drags on, sleep gets worse, water intake drops, or people have to eat the same few foods for days. Appetite fades surprisingly fast. Most people don't talk about it. They just eat less. They leave half a bowl behind. They push the plate away sooner. They say a familiar phrase, "I'm not that hungry." But in a crisis, a skipped meal isn't just a skipped meal. It's lost energy, lost morale, and lost endurance. That's why I consider full-fat coconut milk one of the most valuable items to keep tucked away in a food supply. A single can usually costs around $3 to $5, yet it can completely change the way your body experiences inexpensive foods like rice, potatoes, porridge, pasta, oats, and beans. Just 2 or 3 spoonfuls can soften a dry meal. Thin foods become creamy. Bland foods feel more satisfying. A humble pot of porridge suddenly has a touch of richness. A bowl of white rice no longer feels dry as paper. A serving of mashed potatoes no longer tastes like hospital food. The value of coconut milk isn't just the richness, it's the fat. In many emergency meal plans, people think about calories, but forget that fat helps meals stay satisfying longer and helps the body absorb fat-soluble vitamins from vegetables, seasonings, seaweed, and other foods that may be part of the meal. A meal made up entirely of starches can fill you up quickly, but it can also leave your energy rising and falling just as quickly. Adding a little fat in the right place makes a meal more stable, more comfortable, and less like a task you have to force yourself to finish. I always choose the full-fat version, never the light version. In everyday life, reduced fat products may work for some people. But in an emergency, what you need is not a watered-down can of coconut milk. You need real richness that can lift an entire meal. As for storage, unopened canned coconut milk will usually keep for about 2 to 5 years when stored in a cool, dry place away from sunlight and excessive heat. If you open a can and see a thick cream layer on top with liquid underneath, that doesn't mean it has gone bad. That separation is completely normal. Just shake the can before opening or stir it after opening. The best way to use it is near the end of cooking. Stir it into porridge, soup, hot rice, mashed potatoes, pasta, oats, or broth. If you have leftovers, store them in a sealed container in the refrigerator and use them within a few days. To stretch it even further, divide it into small portions and freeze them for future soups or porridge. Coconut milk isn't the kind of item that helps you show off your food stockpile. It's the item that makes the cheapest foods in your pantry worth eating. And in a prolonged emergency, that's a huge difference. Because sometimes what weakens a family isn't the lack of another bag of rice. It's the fact that nobody wants to eat the bowl of rice sitting right in front of them anymore. 8. TVP, textured vegetable protein. After age 50, What weakens you during a crisis isn't always a lack of food. Sometimes it's a lack of the kind of food that helps your body hold on to its strength. You may still be eating rice every day. There's still pasta in the pantry. There are still oats, potatoes, and a few cans of beans. But at some point, ordinary tasks start feeling heavier. Carrying a water jug leaves your arms more tired. Getting up from a chair feels slower. Even moving a pot of soup from the stove to the table takes more care than it used to. No alarm goes off. Your body simply starts telling you, quietly, that it doesn't have much reserve strength left. This is where a lot of emergency food stockpiles make a mistake. They contain too many starches and too little shelf-stable protein. Starches give you quick energy, but protein is what your body needs to maintain muscle, recover from physical activity, and keep going when you have to clean up, haul water, care for family members, or stay awake through a night without power. This matters even more after age 50, when muscle mass naturally declines over time. A low-protein diet for several days can take a surprisingly fast toll on the body. That's why I always keep TVP in my pantry. TVP, or textured vegetable protein, doesn't look like much. It's dry, lightweight, and a little like cereal flakes. But when you soak it in hot water, it expands and takes on a texture surprisingly close to ground meat. That's what makes it so valuable. A bag of TVP usually costs around $4 to $8. It's lightweight, requires no refrigeration, no freezer space, and no electricity. In its original packaging, many varieties can last 1 to 2 years. If transferred to an airtight jar, a mylar bag, or a vacuum-sealed bag with an oxygen absorber, it can last much longer. Using it is simple. I never soak TVP in plain water. The trick is to soak it in broth, bouillon, a little salt, dried garlic, tomato powder, or chili powder. Within 5 to 10 minutes, it absorbs those flavors. Drain it lightly, then add it to a skillet, soup, or sauce. This is where it becomes especially practical. You can mix TVP into chili to make a pot of chili stretch further without using as much ground beef. Add it to spaghetti sauce to create the feel of a meat sauce. Use it as taco filling with taco seasoning, dried onions, and a little oil. Mix it into sloppy joes to turn 1 pound of meat into a lot more servings. Or simply add it to rice, beans, pasta, and soups so your meals aren't built entirely around starches. I'm not saying TVP tastes like ground beef. It doesn't need to. Its job isn't to completely replace meat. Its job is to help meals stay satisfying, keep protein on the table, and preserve the feeling of a real meal when fresh meat is harder to buy. The refrigerator isn't working, or food prices are climbing too fast. One more tip: always pair TVP with a little fat. That can be ghee, cooking oil, coconut milk, or some of the sauce from whatever you're making. Dry protein without fat can feel dry and disconnected, but with seasoning and fat, it becomes something that can carry an entire meal. That's why I don't think of TVP as a food only for vegetarians. It doesn't replace meat. It replaces weakness. Because during a prolonged crisis, the question isn't just how much food you have left. The more important question is this: does your body still have enough strength to use that food, take care of your family, and keep going for a few more days? 7. Dried seaweed. A small package won't fill you up for another meal, but it can provide something that 50 pounds of rice never will. That's why I always keep dried seaweed in my food storage. It may sound unusual. When people think about emergency preparedness, they usually think about foods that are heavy, bulky, and filling. Rice, beans, pasta, flour, and potatoes. Those foods are incredibly important, But they all share one weakness. They do a much better job of filling your stomach than supporting everything else your body needs. You can eat enough and still feel weak. You can avoid hunger and still feel mentally sluggish. You can have an entire shelf full of food and still be missing a few small things your body needs to function properly. That's the mineral gap. And dried seaweed is one of the most compact ways to help fill it. I don't think of seaweed as a main food. I don't eat it as a snack just for the sake of eating it. To me, seaweed is more like a smart upgrade for meals that are otherwise too simple. A little nori in a bowl of hot rice, some wakame in a soup, a few strips of seaweed in porridge or noodles. Not much. Just enough to make a meal feel a little less empty. The value of seaweed comes from the minerals it contains, especially iodine and magnesium, nutrients that many common pantry foods don't provide in large amounts. Iodine is connected to thyroid function and the way the body regulates energy. Magnesium plays a role in muscle function, heart rhythm, and nervous system stability. You don't need to turn this into a medical lesson. Just think of it this way. When meals consist of little more than dry starches for days at a time, the body can start functioning like a machine that's low on oil. It still runs, but it doesn't run smoothly. A package of dried nori or wakame is extremely lightweight and takes up almost no space. In many stores across the country, a small package usually costs around $4 to $7, depending on the type and brand. That may not sound cheap by weight, but seaweed isn't something you eat by the bowlful. You only need a little at a time, so one package can last through a surprising number of meals. The best way to use it is as an upgrade to foods you already have. Tear nori into hot rice. Add wakame to soup or broth. Mix a little seaweed into porridge. Use it in noodles, mashed potatoes, stewed beans, or a bowl of rice with eggs, canned fish, or TVP. If you want something even simpler, crumble nori with a little toasted sesame seed and a pinch of salt to create a topping for rice. Even a small sprinkle can change the flavor of a meal without relying on expensive sauces or condiments. One important tip is not to use too much. Seaweed is stronger than it looks. Add too much, and the meal can develop a very pronounced ocean flavor. Use a small amount though, and it blends into the background, leaving behind a mild umami taste and a little more depth. When buying seaweed for storage, I prefer simple varieties: dried nori, wakame, or kelp with minimal oil, sugar, or added seasoning. Ready-to-eat seaweed snacks are convenient, but they tend to be more fragile, contain added oils, and are less versatile than plain dried seaweed. As for storage, moisture is the biggest enemy. When unopened, many dried seaweed products can last 1 to 2 years in a cool, dry place. Once opened, transfer them to a zip-top bag, an airtight container, or a small mylar bag with a desiccant packet. If the seaweed becomes soft, chewy, loses its crispness, or develops an unusual smell, it has absorbed too much moisture. Seaweed doesn't make a meal bigger. It makes a meal less incomplete. 6. Chia seeds. Tom is 63 years old. He lives in Texas, and he has a strange habit whenever he watches the news. Every time he hears a forecast about a hurricane, a power outage, or rising food prices, he walks straight into the kitchen. Not to cook, just to open the pantry. A cracker, a handful of cereal, a spoonful of peanut butter, then a banana. An hour later, he's back again. He once said something that stuck with me. I don't think I'm actually hungry. I just feel like if there's something in my stomach, I worry less. After talking with experts about consumer behavior, I realized that reaction is surprisingly common. People don't eat only because their stomachs are empty. They also eat to feel safe. And that's why a lot of food stockpiles don't run out, because there isn't enough food. They run out because of all those moments of just a little more. That's where chia seeds come in. They're not flashy. They're not as famous as freeze-dried food. They're not displayed in the most eye-catching spot in the grocery store. But with just a small spoonful, they do something incredibly valuable. They stretch out the time between trips to the pantry. When mixed with water, chia seeds form a natural gel. That gel holds water, provides soluble fiber, and helps meals feel satisfying for longer. Chia seeds also provide plant-based omega-3s, protein, magnesium, calcium, and a variety of other minerals that make a food supply less repetitive. They won't turn a bowl of porridge into a steak, but they can turn a bowl of porridge that leaves you hungry an hour later into a breakfast that keeps you going until lunchtime. That's a huge difference. A 1-pound bag usually costs around $6 to $10, but you only need 1 or 2 tablespoons at a time. One bag can provide dozens, even hundreds, of small servings. If stored in an airtight container or vacuum-sealed bag and kept in a cool, dry place away from sunlight, chia seeds typically maintain their quality for about 2 to 4 years. Using them is much simpler than most people think. Soak them in water for about 15 minutes. Add them to overnight oats. Mix them into porridge. Stir them into powdered milk. Sprinkle them over yogurt. Add them to pancakes, bread, or thick soups. One trick I really like is adding a spoonful of chia seeds to oatmeal before going to bed. By morning, the meal has a thicker texture, keeps you full longer, and doesn't require a lot of expensive ingredients. But there's one important rule. Don't eat a large amount of dry chia seeds and then drink very little water. Let them expand first, or make sure you drink enough water so the fiber can do its job properly. What's interesting is that after years of studying emergency preparedness, I no longer judge a food by how many calories it provides. I judge it by a different question. Does this food help me make fewer bad decisions? Chia seeds won't save you from hunger. They save you from opening the pantry for the 5th time in a day because your anxiety has grown bigger than your appetite. 5. GHE. The most interesting thing about a well-prepared kitchen isn't that it has more food, it's that it has fewer weak points. A lot of people carefully calculate how much rice, beans, pasta, and canned food they have. But they forget one small question. If every meal is dry, bland, and repetitive, what will make you want to keep eating it? Sometimes, the answer is as simple as a spoonful of stable fat. That's why ghee deserves a place in a food stockpile. Ghee is clarified butter that has had its water and milk solids removed, leaving behind a more stable fat than regular butter. It handles heat well, depends less on refrigeration, and fits naturally into a kitchen that may lose power or stay hot for hours at a time. The most valuable thing about ghee isn't that it feels fancy. It's the way one small spoonful can change an entire meal. A spoonful melted over hot rice makes every grain softer. Stirred into porridge, it adds depth and richness. Mixed into stewed beans, mashed potatoes, or TVP, it makes meals less dry, less crumbly, and much easier to enjoy. From a nutrition standpoint, ghee provides a concentrated source of fat that helps meals stay satisfying longer and supports the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins from vegetables, seaweed, seasonings, and other foods on the plate. When meals revolve around starches for days at a time, a little fat in the right place can make them feel far more balanced. A typical jar of ghee in the United States usually costs around $8 to $15. That may not sound cheap, but you only need a small spoonful at a time, enough to upgrade dozens of meals. If unopened and stored in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight, many products can maintain their quality for roughly 12 to 24 months. Using it is simple. Add it to rice, soup, porridge, mashed potatoes, stewed beans, pasta, skillet bread, or use it to soften TVP. One important tip is to always use a clean, dry spoon. If you live in a smaller household, consider buying smaller jars or dividing it into multiple containers so you're not opening the same jar over and over again. Ghee won't make your food supply bigger. It makes the driest foods in your pantry worth eating. And during long, difficult weeks, that's a huge difference. Because people don't give up simply because they run out of willpower. They give up when they have to keep facing meals that have become too unpleasant. Ghee isn't something you think about when the kitchen is fully stocked. It's something you become grateful for when every other dry meal starts wearing people down more than the hunger itself. 4. Whole wheat berries. When convenience foods are still fully stocked on store shelves, very few people think about whole wheat berries. But when bread prices rise, cereal sells out, flour purchases get limited, and the familiar breakfast boxes disappear, you start to realize something a little unsettling. Your kitchen may have plenty of food, but very few real ingredients. That's why whole wheat berries are worth keeping around. They're not a convenience food. They're a foundational ingredient. And foundational ingredients give you more options than processed foods ever can. Soak them overnight and cook them until tender, and they become a hearty, hot cereal. Grind them coarsely, and they become a warm breakfast grain. Grind them finely, and they become flour for bread, pancakes, or flatbreads. Mix that flour with water and a little salt, and you can cook a simple meal on a skillet when choices start running thin. If conditions allow, you can even sprout the grains to add freshness and variety. Nutritionally, whole wheat berries retain the bran and germ, which means they provide fiber, plant-based protein, B vitamins, and minerals such as iron, magnesium, and zinc. They don't just help fill you up. They help give meals a stronger nutritional foundation than many highly refined foods. The price of wheat berries is usually quite reasonable when purchased in larger bags, especially when you consider how many meals they can become. This is the kind of food that isn't flashy, but delivers tremendous value because one bag can turn into many different kinds of meals. The most important rule is to keep them dry. Store them in airtight containers, Mylar bags, or food-grade buckets with tight-fitting lids. If you want longer storage life, add oxygen absorbers and keep them in a cool, dark place away from moisture and pests. When stored properly, wheat berries can last for many years, often far longer than pre-ground flour. Flour gives you one job. Cereal gives you one job. Bread gives you one meal. But whole wheat berries give you flexibility. Processed food gives you a meal. A foundational ingredient gives you choices, and in uncertain times, having choices can sometimes be worth more than an entire shelf full of food. 3. Vinegar. A bottle of vinegar won't fill you up, but after several days of eating rice, beans, pasta, canned food, and the same meals over and over again, you'll understand why a small bottle can make an entire kitchen feel more livable. Vinegar isn't a main food. It's something that slows down decline. It can help vegetables last a few extra days when properly pickled. Cucumbers, carrots, red onions, cabbage, and radishes can become simple pickled sides with nothing more than vinegar, salt, water, and a little sugar. When meals are built around starches and shelf-stable foods, a touch of acidity can make every bite much easier to enjoy. Nutritionally, vinegar provides very few calories, protein, or fat. But its value comes from its acidity, its flavor, and the way it supports a meal. A splash of vinegar in a salad, sauce, bean dish, stew, or jar of pickled vegetables can help balance richness, saltiness, and that heavy feeling that repetitive meals often create. Vinegar is also useful for helping keep a kitchen cleaner. White vinegar can be used to remove mineral buildup, reduce mild odors, and clean certain everyday kitchen surfaces. However, it's important to remember that vinegar is not a replacement for stronger disinfectants in every situation, and it should never be mixed with other cleaning chemicals. A large bottle usually costs around $3 to $5, depending on the type and brand. For that small amount of money, you get something that can be used for cooking, pickling vegetables, making sauces, reducing odors, and helping maintain the kitchen itself. If you want the most versatile option, choose white vinegar. If you plan to use it frequently in meals, salads, or diluted drinks, apple cider vinegar may be more appealing. Once opened, simply keep it sealed and store it in a cool place away from direct sunlight. White vinegar is remarkably stable and can maintain its quality for a very long time. Some items make a kitchen fuller. Vinegar makes a kitchen stronger. It helps food last a little longer, keeps your taste buds from getting tired, helps kitchen surfaces stay cleaner, and prevents simple meals from becoming unbearably repetitive. Vinegar doesn't make your kitchen fuller. It makes your kitchen decline more slowly. 2. Bouillon cubes. On day 1, you can still eat without much trouble. By day 2, the meals start to feel repetitive. But by day 3, the problem is no longer your stomach, it's your mind. You look at another plate of white rice, beans, pasta, potatoes, or reheated canned food, and suddenly you don't feel like eating anymore. Not because you're full, but because your brain is exhausted from the same smell, the same flavor, and the same kind of meal over and over again. That's when a small bouillon cube becomes surprisingly valuable. Drop one into a pot of hot water, and the aroma immediately fills the room. A bowl of plain hot water becomes broth. Leftover rice becomes porridge. Dry noodles become soup. Canned beans taste less bland. Frozen vegetables feel more like a real meal. Bouillon cubes are not a major source of nutrition. They don't replace meat, vegetables, or grains, but they provide something incredibly practical. They make simple foods easier to eat. And during difficult times, being able to keep eating is a form of strength. A box of bouillon cubes is usually inexpensive, compact, easy to store, and lasts a long time. You can choose chicken, beef, vegetable, or lower sodium varieties if sodium intake is a concern. For older adults, that detail matters because many brands contain a significant amount of salt. One useful trick is not to use the entire cube right away. Break it in half, taste the food, and then decide whether you need more. A single cube can rescue an entire pot of porridge, soup, beans, potatoes, or a bowl of leftover rice that nobody wanted to eat anymore. Storage is simple. Keep them in a cool, dry place, seal the package after opening, and protect them from moisture. If the cubes become soft, start leaking, or develop an unusual smell, it's best to discard them. When stored properly, many varieties remain usable through the date printed on the package. Sometimes what saves a meal isn't adding more food. It's a familiar aroma that convinces your brain to cooperate again. 1. Ginger. The food I keep hidden the most isn't number 1 because it's rare. It's number 1 because by the time you truly need it, your body is often already sending warning signs. You stand up and have to steady yourself against the kitchen counter. Your head feels a little light. Your hands are cold. Your stomach is empty, yet you don't feel like eating. You try to force down more rice, more beans, more canned food, but your body still refuses to cooperate. That's why ginger deserves the number 1 spot. Ginger won't save you from hunger, and it won't replace a real meal. But during periods of irregular eating, Heavy starch-based meals, lots of canned food, limited fresh ingredients, or prolonged stress? A little ginger can help you feel more comfortable. A cup of warm ginger tea can be soothing on the stomach. A few slices of ginger in porridge can make a meal feel less bland and less heavy. Minced ginger can be added to soup, broth, beans, sautéed vegetables, canned meat, or fish to instantly bring more aroma and flavor to the dish. Nutritionally, ginger isn't known for calories, protein, or fat. Its value comes from its warm, spicy flavor, its aroma, and the way it can support digestive comfort. When meals become repetitive, ginger helps food feel alive again. A small piece of ginger root is usually inexpensive, but it can be used many times. You can slice it for tea, mince it for cooking, add it to broth, or freeze individual slices for later use. Fresh ginger will often keep for several weeks in the refrigerator if it's kept dry and stored properly. For longer storage, dried ginger, ginger powder, or unsweetened ginger tea are good alternatives. All of them should be kept away from moisture and light and sealed tightly after opening. One important thing is not to treat ginger like a miracle cure. If you experience severe dizziness, chest pain, fainting, serious dehydration, or symptoms that persist, medical care is what you need, not another cup of ginger tea. But in an ordinary kitchen, ginger is one of those small items that helps you stay on track. Some foods help you stay full longer. Ginger helps you stay comfortable enough to make it to the next meal. Preparing food isn't about turning your home into a warehouse. It's about helping your family stay calmer when the world outside becomes less predictable. The people who prepare best aren't the ones with the most canned food. They're the ones who understand that a food supply needs more than enough calories. It also needs the things that help the body and mind keep working together when the outside world starts feeling harder to control. A little ginger, a few bouillon cubes, a bottle of vinegar, or a bag of whole grains may not seem impressive during normal times. But when things get difficult, those small items can help you keep eating, think more clearly, and stay on your feet for one more day.